Welcome along. It's Richard Beauvoisin here on Radio Bath, and today on A Story to Tell, got Jon and Chris Mclure. Is that right? Is that how you say it, Mclure?
We say McClure, but I mean McClure to a. My wife's a Southerner and she says it like you do, so that's fine.
Does she? I'm definitely a Southerner. I've just been talking and saying I'm from Portsmouth, so definitely a Southerner. There's no other way about that. But you're here to talk all about day fever. So, first of all, guys, tell us, what is day fever?
It's an idea we had around 10 months ago. It's a daytime. We realised that we were getting to an age where being in city centres late at night weren't particularly what we were after, but we still wanted to party. So me, John, a guy called Johnny Owen and a guy called James Warrer had an idea to put on a daytime disco, essentially, 3 till 8. So it means that you can still go out and essentially go clubbing, but you can be home for 9 p.m. and it seems to have caught on.
Doing all right, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously, Johnny is married to Vicky McClure, so we sort of took the idea to her, and she was really into it and has been a great sort of supporter and ambassador for us, and you know, spread the word far and wide. And she's been turning up to the events with her family and her mum and dad and all that. And it's just a sort of a great event, really. You know, you can be home for 9:30, 9 o'clock, watch match of the day, have a curry, you're not hungover on a Sunday, hear all your favourite tunes. It's a great vibe.
Now, you've cottoned on to something. So I was just talking off air a minute ago about the fact that I'm a dance teacher and I run loads of dance events. And our normal dance events run from 8 until midnight. That's our standard ones that we do in the evening, or class nights during the week, 7:30 till 10:30. But our most popular events is actually on a Sunday afternoon when we dance from 2 until 6. And we play chilled out music, and everybody dances from 2 till 6, and then, as you say, goes home. And they have been the most popular events taken over the country for about the last 10, 15 years. So you guys we have hundreds of people coming along. You guys are doing it with, how many people come along to your events?
I think the biggest one in Nottingham is 1,800 people monthly. Yeah. So obviously, and you know, we sell out in Glasgow, Sheffield, Newcastle, we're in Liverpool, I think we're in 15 cities now monthly. So there's obviously an appetite for it. And you know, it's a very simple concept of going out, listening to best tunes at last century, I suppose. There's a bar and you have a dance, and at 20, it's quite an amazing sight at 3:20 to see a packed dance floor with people, like, you know, with glow sticks in their hand and having it. It's quite a beautiful thing, really.
I think also, you know, consumer habits are changing. I've always thought it quite strange that shops are open 9 while 5 when everybody's at work, right? Which is quite bizarre in and of itself. But we get a lot of women coming to our events. So, sorry, like 75% of our crowd's women. And I think city centres can often be quite moody late at night. So I think it's about finding a safe space where people can come and enjoy themselves and get into it and sort of, you know, throw off the shackles, really. A lot of our clientele are parents, and they find it hard to go out and stay out till 4 o'clock in the morning like they would have done when they were younger, right? So it's just about providing a time and a place where people can come and feel seen and let their hair down, really.
That's really interesting for me, because I'd never heard of it before I kind of had the chance to chat to you guys. And then I've spoken to quite a few people, and loads of people already know about it, which is an amazing thing from a marketing perspective. But kind of, where do you guys want to take it? So you're in 15 cities at the moment. What's kind of the plan? Is there a plan?
I think next year we'd like to get to more new places. You know, I quite like the idea of pop-up day fevers in your local towns and cities. So if people do want a day fever in where they live, they should sign up on our website and tell us where they want it. And I don't know, a part of me thinks that this could work abroad as well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the concept of a daytime disco is specifically British. I think it transfers across the world, but I don't know. One of my favorite moments of day fever is I got my friend and his wife on guest list for one, and they sent me a photograph after around 9 o'clock, so about an hour after the event had finished, and they'd both been for chips and cheese and were sat on bus holding hands. And he WhatsApped me a photo, and I thought there's something beautifully nostalgic about that and very simple. But yeah, that's where we could take it, I suppose.
Abroad, yeah, absolutely. And as I say, if there's any towns or anything that are slightly smaller, possibly that you can do. So you're in Bristol this Saturday. It's going out this week. I believe you're also in Bristol in November and December, according to my.
Yeah, so we've got a great venue in Bristol, the O2 Academy, where I'm in a band and I've played there a bunch of times. It's a great venue. But also we have some sort of locals in Bristol. Most notably, we've got Josin and Jade Adams, who were sort of great Bristol heads down there, who were like often on the decks. And then we come down and DJ, and we have a right good old party down there. You know, Bristol's always been a great place to hang out and to party, and obviously a great music city. So it's just a bunch of fun. I love it in that place, and I like that little pub opposite. And I forgot the name of it now. But you know that little like old pub, the white. I can't remember the name of the place, but it's like feels like it's been there since about 1200 AD or something. So I like to go for a pint in there first.
It probably has been there since 1200 AD. That's the thing.
Definitely, yeah, got a bit of that Bristol. Yeah, Bristol's a great city, man, and we always have a great party down there. And obviously, Bath, yourselves in Bath, it's like, what is it, 20 minutes or something in a car? So you kind of, I've got a bunch of mates down there, and we always have a great time coming down. They know how to party down there.
Yeah. No, it's both Bath and Bristol are great cities. I'll do the official thing now. So where can people get the tickets from?
day-fever.com. And if they sign up to become a member, they'll receive a very personalised email of instructions of how to buy tickets, or on Instagram and X, Facebook with Day Fever UK, and then a list of our events are on his website there.
Now, obviously, it's a mighty expensive thing to go to as well, I believe.
It's what?
Really expensive to go to this as well.
Yeah, £10. I mean, we're really ripping people off, like, you know what I mean? It's a real skank. I mean, no, do you know what? There is a booking fee on top. We should be clear about that. But there's not a lot we can obviously do about booking fees because you have to use a ticket provider. But we try and keep it cheap because we want it to be an inclusive space, right, where people can just come. We get multi-generations of people who come. We had other day, we had a nanan, a mother and a daughter all come raving it up together. And we don't want it to be something that's like elitist or feels like unaffordable for people. You know what I mean? Like beer costs enough these days, doesn't it? So it's £10, nice and simple, 5 hours entertainment, and everybody goes home smiling, right? Which is what we obviously we want to make a few bob. That's undeniable. But moreover, what we want to do is provide these people with somewhere they can go, and that don't cost loads of money, because I think, especially as you get older, you start to feel like certain clubs or certain bars, it's not really for me anymore. And there's a lot of people out there who are like, where do I go these days? What is there for us? And we're trying to provide that, you know, and I think keeping that ticket price nice and low just says to people, you know, we're not out to rob you. We just want to have a good time, really.
No, I think it's a fantastic price. It's a really difficult thing, isn't it? When you run any business, which I have the pleasure of doing as well for my dancing, is trying to find the right pitch, because you want to make it achievable for everybody. But equally, you've got bills to pay.
The other thing is, if you're going out for a night, if I go for a night out in Sheffield, where I'm from, I've got to consider a taxi back, which is 15 quid. It becomes a very expensive night to essentially go out for a drink. So with Day Fever, what we are finding is people are for example, if you're in Bath, you're still able to get that train home at a reasonable time. Back to your house, you could be back in Bath for 9 p.m.
Yeah.
So it becomes a lot more affordable when you take them things out of it. So yeah, we have tried to make it accessible for everybody, really.
No, I think so. I think it's a fantastic concept. Last little bit on this is, how did you find the venues? Because that can be quite difficult. And how do the venues feel about you being there? Because they'll be used to selling out their venues in the evening. So how are they finding it daytime events?
Well, a lot of the venues I playing with my band. I'm in a band called Reverend and the Makers, and we've been going sort of 20 years or something. And obviously, a lot of them places I've played with the band. So our business partner, Jim, when he's going to pick a new city or whatever, he'll often sort of say, John, what do you think to this place or that place? We've also got a great friend in Bristol called Connell Dodds, who's a promoter, and we know him really well. He's a lovely guy, and Connell was able to advise us a little bit on that sort of southwest area. But we just take it city by city, really. They tend to obviously have to be of a certain size, around 1,000 cap size. but we're open to suggestions really. Like Chris said, but next year we're looking to maybe expand into some slightly sort of secondary towns, where maybe they don't always get the best gigs and the best clubs and stuff. And I think like you guys have been lucky down there. You've had some great clubs. I know is it Moles has closed recently, right? And
It has, yeah.
yeah, I mean you've been spoilt with nightclubs over the years, haven't you, down there? You've had some great places. But we just sort of try to pick a place where it's going to be central for everybody and everybody can get to really, and where they've got a good sound system. So, because obviously we're playing a lot of disco, a lot of 90s dance music, so we want it to sound great, right? And we love that O2 in Bristol. It's not all the O2s are great, but some of them are really good. And the Bristol one's great because it's like a wedding cake, right? It's like 3 layers on top. And we just love that space because one of our things that we do is we try to have people dancing on stage, right? We have a big visual, we have a lot of retro like adverts and music videos on, and then we have people dancing on stage to try and evoke that feeling of like Top of the Pops, The Word, TFI Friday. And that one in the Bristol venue is great because it's a big wide stage, right? It's like a sort of the venue's sort of wide rather than deep. So it's perfect because you can get loads of people on there like dancing and going nuts basically.
Well, definitely a local venue in Bath. If you are looking for a venue that's will hold about 1,500 people, is the Bath Pavilion. So
it's
that
beautiful.
sounds
It's beautiful in there. It really is.
So yeah, I used to hire that as the venue for my dancing, and yeah, it's a big old place. They'd be very well set up to host you guys, that's for sure. So
that could be a real vibe. I like Bath. I have to say, I also like Bradford upon Avon. You've got some nice spots down there. If I ever like elope, I think I might move down there because it's a nice spot, right?
I live literally about 8 minutes from BOA, as we call it.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
I recorded my last album in part in Bath, a studio out in the country. It's a nice part. Everyone's a little bit sort of like a wizard down there, aren't they? They're all a bit like kind of a bit mystical, aren't they, down there? I love it.
Well, there's the classic Michael McIntyre sketch that he does, and that's if you're in London, everything is really, really fast paced. That's kind of the way it is. And the further out of London you go, the slower it gets. So you kind of get to Oxford and it's still kind of like this. And then you get to Bath and Bristol and it's like, well, we kind of speak like this, but we got a city. We're cities, you see. And it's a bit like that. So it's still a bit quick paced. And then you get further down to Exeter and it gets a little bit still talking like this, but it's slowing down lots now. It's really slowing down. And then you get down to Cornwall and they just go, But yeah, Bath and Bristol is it's slower pace. Sorry, excuse me. It's a much slower pace, but it is definitely still a city vibe.
It's funny you say that because I think sometimes in Britain we fall into this like north-south dichotomy, but it's not really like that. It's like London and the rest, right?
Yeah.
So I think culturally in Bath and Bristol, you've probably got a lot more in common with us in Sheffield, actually, because it's like pretty chill. Everybody's kind of friendly, and I think sometimes you can fall into that like simplistic north-south thing, and it's not really like that, I don't think.
No, in fact, although I'm from Portsmouth, the reason I'm from Portsmouth, my grandfather, who was a Geordie, was in the Navy. So that's why I ended up in Portsmouth. But all my family before that were from Sheffield. So I'm kind of like a northern southerner. I don't know where I'd put myself, but
well, if you're ever up, mate, we shall welcome you back. You'll have to
that would be lovely. Now we're going to have a little break for music. When we come back, though, we are going to talk all about music because that's the key part of Day Fever. So back with Jon and Chris very shortly. So welcome back. It's Richard Beauvoisin here on Radio Bath. I'm talking to Jon and Chris Mclure. We're talking all about the Day Fever UK tour. They're coming to Bristol in November and December, and also there this Saturday. We're going to talk now all about the music. So what type of music do you guys play at Day Fever?
I would describe it as the greatest hits of the 20th century with a splattering of noughties. But there's an incredible thirst for 90s dance, which is something that we quickly adapt to. Like Jon said previously, as audience is heavily female, and I would say roughly in the 40s, although it's a wide demographic, but they love that 90s dance. About 5:30 when like 6 drinks at home, they want to go to space and it's bouncing. So, but yeah, a bit of a journey through the years really, but it's the hits, you're not going to get anything too avant-garde at Day Fever.
Okay, so most people Their favorite time of music is when they were between 15 and 20, which is why now those that are in their 40s are loving the 90s music. So I turned 50 this year myself, and yes, my generation is the early 90s. That was when I was kind of late 80s, early 90s. I kind of tried to move on a little bit from Kylie and Jason, not the most credible people in the world, but yeah. So how do you come up with your playlist then? Is it like done in advance, or do you read the room? Do you have special DJs coming in? How do you guys do it?
So I used to play at this indie night called Propaganda, and because I was young and silly, I used to turn up there, and they wanted me to play indie, and I'd play like ragga and ruin the night. So when we started Day Fever, I said, "Oh, we must insulate ourselves from all our DJs just going off piste and like playing whatever they want." So we made this USB stick, of which there's a lot of music on there, but at least it provides some parameters to stop them sort of just going nuts, right? But it's funny because a lot of the songs that are on there, when we were kids, I hated them, right? Because I sort of came through during Britpop, right? That's when I first sort of wanted to be in a band and whatever else. And stuff that were like a bit poppy or a bit dancey, I'd be like, oh, no, I'm not into that. And then weirdly, conversely, when I hear these songs, now I'm like, oh my God, what a banger. Like if you put Spice Girls on now, I'd be like, what a tune. And I used to hate them, right? And I think as you get a bit older, it's funny this, as you get older, you get a bit less precious about music, right? And you're a bit like, you're less bothered about trying to seek out like a Velvet Underground B-side, right? And you just sort of take it for what it is. So when they play like Freed From Desire and all rooms going nuts, I'm like, going nuts, you know, I love it, man.
You're in there. What about yourself, Chris? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because our demographic's so wide. Like, yeah, I've noticed in Glasgow the other week there were 3 generations of family came. There were the nan, the daughter, and the granddaughter, and they all seemed like, what were amazing is they all seem to have the little part a day. So first hour and a half, like Nanan's up, like she had balloons on her arms, they'd like proper dolled her up, and then
Floating in on her balloons.
then we went into like this George Michael, Wham, 80s, and then a bit of Disco World and Daughter's up. It's her moment. And then like by 6:30, granddaughter's like on someone's shoulders going mad. And I thought, this works, you know. And then all the while, there's Morecambe and Wise dancing on a screen to Prodigy. It's all a bit like Madhouse Party, but it works somehow. It's like organised chaos.
Now, one of my favorite things, I hire a lot of DJs for my dancing, so I employ quite a few. And one of the key things I say to them is it's irrelevant whether you like the track or not. It's not about you, it's about those that are on the dance floor. So have you had to have those words with the DJs where they have gone slightly off piste?
Yeah, because obviously there's an element of trial and error, right? So as I sort the music out, Chris sorts the sort of DJs and the personnel out. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I used to DJ like seriously, right? I played in like Manumission and all that. And then the moment you don't take it seriously and you start just having a laugh and playing like stuff that's a bit cheesy, it's like liberating. And you're just free. You can have fun. But don't get me wrong, there's been a couple who've turned up and they like still at back of their head think they're going to be like Armand Van Helden or something. You know what I mean? And we're just like, come on, mate, come on. Just play Sandstone by Darude and like get your hands in air and chill out. Like
the thing is, even if you don't like a certain track, like John's just alluded to, if it's hard not to appreciate it if 1,500 people are jumping up and down in unison to it. Mr. Brightside, for example, Killers. I never really thought too in depth about that tune. I knew it were a big hit, but then when you see the reaction to it, you're like, all right, the fair play, like there's something in this tune that unites people. I get it, and like you do start to have a newfound appreciation for certain artists and how they can write music, I suppose.
I have it with my band. Like if I play like my big tunes that everybody knows, people go nuts. Now in an ideal world, I'd play all my arty B-sides that I really love, but that's not how the world works, is it? You've got to sort of give people on some level what they want, and this is kind of what I was alluding to about when you get older. There's a joy in making people happy, right? In making people smile or making people dance. And I think sometimes entertainers, DJs, musicians, they can be a bit selfish and they can sometimes forget these people have been at work all week. They've been at work all week. They've probably had a lot of stress with the family and the kids and the mothers pecking their head and the dad's doing the nutting and they just want to come and have a drink and have a dance. It's not, you can complicate things sometimes. You know what I mean? It's just, it's good old fashioned fun. And I think, you know, there's a lot of bad things in this world, isn't there? And sometimes that sort of just not overcomplicating it. Come and have a drink, or not. If you don't want to drink, have a dance. It's all going to be fine. It's just a nice energy, that I think.
It's very much escapism, isn't it? It's 4 or 5 hours where the rest of the world doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly what it is, yeah.
And it's an amazing thing to do. Now, I've DJed myself. I haven't done kind of party DJing for some time just because I find it soul destroying to some degree after a while. But I always said that I had one song that I would never play, and that song is Oops Upside Your Head. Now, the reason for that is that I grew up when I had loads of family parties and they were all there sitting on the floor, tapping away from one side to the other, broken glass all around them, beer everywhere on the floor. And I was like, I cannot bring myself to play that track. So I never have ever played that track. Have you guys got any tracks like that you'll never play?
No, not really. No, like I've kind of I used to be like you, right? So when I was first in a band, I was a terrible musical snob, right? I was like, no backing vocals, no guitar solos. I'd all these sort of arbitrary rules for things. And now I'm like, I don't care, man. I'm going to play YMCA. I'm going to play Superman. 70s is like your golden era of like, I don't know, like crowd participatory dance, innit?
Yep.
Superman, YMCA, Oops Upside Your Head. I don't get it. I'll play it all, mate. I don't care.
As long as you play them at the right time. You can't play that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's got to be 6 pints in.
They've got to be well oiled by then. And what you do have to be careful of as well is what we've noticed is certain songs being affiliated with football clubs. So you can't play certain tracks in certain cities, and you're like, why not? Because a bottle will fly towards stage. So you kind of avoid like certain tracks in certain cities, but that's
Bristol love the Wurzels, right? That's a thing in Bristol, right?
Yeah. I've actually seen the Wurzels live. Well, the remaining members and the variety of the new ones. Trigger's Broom moment, isn't it? Regardless, it's still the same people, but not quite the same people. And do you know what? They were great for that one track.
Yeah, it's weird how you get these like little regional discrepancies. So there's like certain tracks will only work in certain cities. So there's that track Loch Lomond, and if you play that in Scotland, and they've got this other one called Bits and Pieces, right? And you play it in the end of the night, and everyone goes absolutely bonkers, right? But you play it in like Bristol or Sheffield, and you clear dance floor.
Yeah.
So you've kind of got to just tap into some of them little nuances, just because certain places, I think music's becoming increasingly regionalized, right? So you get these artists that are massive in one area of country and do nothing in another. So we've had to sort of educate ourselves a little bit on what each city wants, right?
Very much so. Now, you talk about clearing the room then. So I know for my dancing purposes, I've got certain tracks that I know if a previous song's gone on and it's not worked that well, I can play X track and the floor fills. What tracks do you think are the ones that are going to be the floor fillers? You had one track.
The one that always bangs for me, I don't know what Chris's one is, but the one that never fails for me to send people insane is Jump Around by House of Pain.
Oh, yeah.
I tend to do I like doing the early slots. I like watching the crowd come in, and I like the drunken last hour. And weirdly, the track that always seems to shift the energy in room about 4 o'clock is Yaz, The Only Way Is Up.
Oh, yeah.
It's got quite a positive message, that tune. So whenever that goes on, it feels like there's always a bit of on mic before it's saying party's starting. And if you play Yaz,
Hold on.
All hands are in air, and it seems to unite the room. And then I'm like, right, my job's done. It's time for dance DJs to come on, or disco lot to come on.
But are you then playing that as your last track and getting somebody else to follow it up? Because that's a really tough one to follow up because it's such high pace, about 150 beats per minute.
It's like after that first hour, once Yaz is on, we're away, we're gone. Do what you want, send them to space, like, and then it's like last 40 minutes, they love that, like, them really big uniting tracks, you know, your Hey Judes and Don't Look Back in Angers and All of the Moon, like, because they've had that drink, they're with a family, we've all done it. You feel quite emotional. You're hugging your brother or your sister or your auntie, you're telling them you love them. And
I
then
think there's something quite profound there, especially after COVID and with society becoming like increasingly atomized and online and that sort of stuff. Is like music performs a really important social function because it's one of the few things that like puts everybody in a place. There's nothing divisive about it in the way that sport can be. It's like everybody's in a place, dancing together or singing together. And I think like as humans, we need a bit of that stuff sometimes.
Very much so. I mean, the reason I run a dance company is because I want to make people happy. That's my why. That's why I do
Yeah.
it. I'm never going
Yeah.
to be a millionaire from being a dance teacher, but I see the positive mental attitudes that people have from dancing, and it's incredible. And that's worth a lot more than millions and millions of pounds. So,
You
that's why
know,
I do it.
it's funny you said that, Richard, because we had some data pulled recently regarding or sent to us by someone, and they were saying that dancing is the #1 cure for depression.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also, I think it's something like a 30% reduction in Alzheimer's and dementia if you dance.
Wow.
It can have that much difference. So,
Well, I shall be remembering everything when I'm 90 in that case, then, because we never
Yeah.
stop moving when we're at day fever. In fact, now I'm getting advancing in years. On a Sunday, I start to ache because I've danced that much, right?
Of course, that's what it's all about. It's a good
Thing
thing.
is, because we get people on stage, so we have people, we call them masters of ceremony, and it's basically some crazy cats that we're employing to go into the crowd and fetch the audience on stage to have a dance with us. And, you know, it's their moment to be up on stage in front of 1,000 people, having a boogie. No one really cares, like, how you're dancing is. It's just, but when you're leading them to the stage, you're hearing firsthand, like, their personal test, and they're telling you really personal stuff about, I've never done this before. You know, we've had some insane stories from women say, I think in Bristol, actually, we were in a coma exactly 1 year before. We're exactly 1 year since she were in a coma, and then she were being led up to the stage, and she danced in front of 1,000 people on stage, and
Wow.
it's that stuff. And I think, yes, I want to make some money, and yeah, you know, but that stuff is like, we never anticipated that. I don't think these
No.
real personal stories.
We've had a few a few couples get together and all, because obviously there's a lot of people who are maybe in the 30s and 40s, 50s. Some people are like on second time round, right? You got some divorcees and stuff, and we've had a little bit of dating happen, you know, a
Yeah.
little bit of when Harry met Sally. Like, there's been a couple of couple of couples now who've got together and then subsequently come to events together, which is like, that's magic, right?
And you also know that you will be, in a strange sort of way, possibly creating babies too.
Love that.
Yeah, first
Who's going to be the first day fever baby?
day fever baby.
Yeah, but get home, get a bit of Barry White on. Happy days.
And on that note, we're going to move on to the quick fire round. So yeah, I'm going to alternate questions. You're both going to answer each question. There are 7, very simple to start with. They get slightly deeper at the very end, but yeah, let's go for it. So, Chris, I'm going to start with yourself. Favorite ice cream?
Vanilla.
Go for it, John.
Coffee.
Coffee. Ooh,
Posh. Very
Ooh.
posh.
Yeah. So, John, now to yourself. Are you tidy or messy?
Messy. Very messy.
Chris?
I'm going to say tidy, but if my girlfriend is listening, she's going to slam radio off.
So you're definitely not.
As long as my kitchen and my bathroom are tidy, I'm all right. Everything else is better.
Are you Zoom tidy?
I'm very Zoom tidy.
Yeah, I've had to tilt the screen up. You don't want to see what's behind me. Chris, love or hate roller coasters?
Love them.
Love them.
Yeah,
Fabulous. You're not too
try and
far
get
from
to
Alton
Alton
Towers.
Towers every year with free coupons if I can. Love it.
I hate them. Put file under horror films. Why do you want to scare yourself? There's enough scary things around.
Right then, John, important question now. Do you hang your toilet roll over the top or behind the back?
Over the top of it. Oh,
Yeah, so
God.
does it go over the top?
Over the top, man. Yeah, you want easy access, right?
Yeah, okay. Chris?
100% over the top. Anything different, I'm questioning a lot of things.
I'm
Okay.
starting to think you're a psychopath if you hang it other way, to be honest.
Well, James, who was also part of Day Fever, was eating a cold Sunday dinner next to me the other day, which is same as having your toilet roll underneath.
Weirdo.
So my follow-up question then is, if you went to somebody else's house and their toilet roll was the other way round, would you flip it to being over the top?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Every fibre in my body would want to.
Oh, that sounds like you're resisting it though, Chris.
Yeah, I can't be. It depends how well I know him. If it's our kids, it's getting flipped.
Yeah.
Chris is a fundamentally nicer person than me, Richard. I'd like totally just change all your house settings round.
You'd go and change the heating settings and people would be wondering why it's getting cold.
Yeah, that's me.
Right then, Chris, if you had to do it, what is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, it's a bit of a strange one, but it's a song called "The Letter" by the Box Tops, an old
Okay.
60s track. It's not one of your well-known ones, but that's what I'm doing. I'll do it early at night as to not ruin party.
Right.
But yeah, I'll get it started with that.
Never heard that one, but yeah, I will look it up.
That's a great track.
Yeah.
I can smash "Fast Love" by George Michael. Like, you'd think George would come back to life if you heard me. Honestly, like, if Stars in Their Eyes was still a thing, and I weren't in a band, I'd do George. Like,
John will do your full version of Rapper's Delight too, every single word.
Are we going to get a little rendition of Rapper's Delight then?
no.
That's a no.
I don't tend to rap on radio, Richard, but if I meet you in person, I'll do you a bit.
You'll give me a Rapper's Delight in person. That sounds like fun. 2 questions to go then. So no idea whose turn it is, but let's go, Chris.
Go on.
If you came back in your next life as an animal, which one would you be and why?
I would be an owl because I try to convince myself constantly that I am a daytime morning person, and if I were an owl, I could just finally accept that I prefer being up at night without feeling guilty. So I'd be an owl.
Owl's a lovely answer. John?
I think I'd be a dog, just because, but I want to be a dog that's got like a good owner and a good food supply. Everything's done for you. All your only interest, like finding a female dog. That life's easy then, isn't it? I don't want to be anything endangered. You know what I mean?
Great answers. And last question then, guys. John first. Slightly deeper on this one. Where is your happy place? You could be somewhere. Where is your happy place?
My happy place is laying down with one of my sons head on this shoulder and one on this shoulder, and my arms round them both, watching Sheffield Wednesday on telly.
Great place. Come on in, Chris.
My happy place. Well, I don't booze anymore, so I do like going, and it's linked to day for you, I suppose. I like going out in daytime and doing something and having a bit of a laugh and seeing everybody. But I love getting home at 10:30 and putting Match at Day on with a cup of tea and like something sweet. And I like it. It grounds me, and I feel that's my happy place. I'm like, life's all right. Everything feels normal.
Both sound like a lovely place to be. Unfortunately, Sheffield Wednesday haven't been on Match of the Day for a couple of years now.
All right.
We're getting on so well, Richard. We've been half an hour.
But Pompey haven't been on there for a long time either.
No. Do you still have that mad guy at Pompey who has all them tattoos?
Yeah, John. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's. I used to have a season ticket there, and my seat was about 10 seats away from him. He's an absolute. The strangest thing is he's an accountant.
Wow.
I'm not sure I'd have him as an accountant, but yeah, when he turned up to the matches, let's just say he didn't smell too sweet. He'd definitely been to the pub. That was for sure.
Yeah, we have a guy called Tango who, if you remember them Tango adverts years ago, he's like a big bald dude who takes his top off at all matches. Yeah. And you would think he were just insane, right? And in actuality, he's a successful businessman, similar to what you said about this guy. And you're like, and this dude will be like -10 and he's there with his shirt off, which is just like unfathomable, really.
No, it is amazing what you do for love your football team. I say I turned 50 this year, and I'm one of the hardest people to buy a present for because I don't really want for anything. That's not kind of the type of person I am. But I have just said to my wife, because people are trying to do collections and stuff, because I'm that type of thing, and I'm like, actually going to see Pompey and maybe even seeing the players or going behind the scenes or something like that would be an amazing thing to do.
Yeah. But there's a thing with football, isn't there? Like, through being in a band, I've met like everyone in music industry, right? And I'm a bit like, who cares? Because I know how you do it. Even though I love the music, I'll be like, I don't really care because I know how you do it. Whereas I could meet like a League One footballer and I'd lose my marbles, because there's still something magic about that to me.
Yeah, very much so. Just on music very quickly, this is a moment for you guys to think about for the future. I interviewed a lady called Gia Ford, who is a Sheffield.
I know Gia. Yeah.
Yeah, I interviewed her. She did a live lounge for me on Radio Bath this week, and she was incredible. So yeah, look out for her. Definitely.
Gia and I share a bass player. So there's a lady called Antonia Poole, who plays bass in Reverend and the Makers, but she's also Gia's bass player. So we're currently vying for musical abilities.
Connor was with her as well. Connor Houston.
I know Connor. He's been to a bunch of my shows.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. She's doing well. The album's great, and I think her girlfriend designed the artwork. Right?
That's correct.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, no, I thought she was sensational. So yeah, do support her. Obviously, you've been in the industry a bit longer than she has. So
yeah, but I think it's important, to support young artists and upcoming artists and stuff. And she's doing well, Gia. She just needs to keep pushing, right? I think more people just need to be aware of her and stuff. It's very difficult. I'm lucky. I came through in an era when it was relatively sort of easy to be in a band, but it's very difficult for young artists now. So she's just got to keep going, man. She's super talented.
No, she's absolutely brilliant. Remind us again why you guys are here. It's all about Day Fever.
Yeah, Day Fever, the daytime disco that doesn't ruin your Sunday. It's in Bristol this Saturday. We're about to launch all those Christmas events. Come and have a party. Get home for 9 p.m. Get some chips and cheese after, or a kebab, whatever tickles your fancy. And come and have a dance with us.
All right, my lover.
All right, my lover. Coming down to Bristol. Thank you so much for being on Radio Bath today, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it.
Thanks for your time, Richard.
That's right. Have a great day.
See you,
mate. Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye.